Hello and welcome to this PwC Central and Eastern Europe webcast. Whether you're joining us from home like me or from your office or if you're on your move, welcome. It's lovely to have you all with us today. And we've got a lot to get through. This is a very exciting webcast, which will be focusing on the Transforming for Impact on the future of Central and Eastern Europe. And we're going to be going through three particular areas of discussion: digital transformation, energy transition, and also investor perspective. So a lot to get through. My name's Kasia Madeira. I'm of Polish origin, and I'm absolutely fascinated in Central and Eastern Europe. I love the region. Now, obviously, my name is of Polish origin, but you may hear that I'm sounding a bit British. I am actually born in the UK, but every year I go to Poland, and I've just been absolutely excited to see this region transform. So today we're very lucky to be hosted by PwC. We're also going to be hearing from the PwC 26th Annual Global CEO Survey. So a lot of information to get through, and we're going to do it with a formidable panel. Now, getting these guys into this same virtual room at the same time has been no mean feat. So let me, without further ado, introduce our fantastic panel that will be guiding us through this exciting period today. So please join me in welcoming Michelle Simmons, the General Manager, CEE Multi-Country for Microsoft. Michelle, welcome to you. You're joining us from beautiful Prague. How are you today?
Good morning. It's great to be here. Doing well. We happen to have blue skies today, so that's a plus. And happy to be back home after spending a few days earlier this week in Warsaw, and back to Prague, where I've been based for the last nearly 5 years. So great to be joining this great group of people today.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful Prague. So amazing. And you've got blue skies. We have got grey skies in London, as always. Michelle, thank you so much. We're also joined by Tomasz Wiatrak, the chairman and CEO of Orlen Unipetrol, also joining us from Prague. And Tomasz, a bit of a hockey fan, I'm guessing.
Yeah, you're right. I'm a big hockey fan. It's national sport here in the Czech Republic. Unfortunately, the team I support is not playing anymore in the playoffs, so I'm not so deep involved as I would like to.
Well, commiserations to you, but I'm sure they'll get back on top because they've got a fantastic hockey team. Really, really brilliant there. Tomasz, thank you so much. Also, let's welcome Krzysztof Krawczyk. Krzysztof, you're the partner head of Poland at CVC Capital Partners. Where are you? How are you?
Warm welcome from Warsaw. We also have beautiful weather. I'm really glad to be back again on PwC CEO survey panel, and glad to see you, Kasia, again.
I think, Krzysztof, I think it's just me who's got the rain here in London, as always. Thank you so much. We're going to catch up with you in just a moment. And finally, last but not least, and thank you so much to PwC for hosting this. Let's introduce Adam Krasoń, the CEO, PwC Central and Eastern Europe. Welcome. Thank you for hosting us. It's really going to be a fascinating discussion. What are you hoping to hear, Adam?
Hello, good morning. Hi, Kasia. I mean, I'm hoping to learn a lot, actually, because we represent so different sectors, and we are coming from different also, I mean, we are definitely also representing from a geographical perspective different countries. So I hope to learn a lot about the region. And for me, from my position, was actually key to know the region very well. So I hoping that's not just for me, but also for clients. There will be a lot of stuff to share, best practices to observe. So I'm really excited to be part of this panel and present in a moment briefly the results of our survey.
Well, we're very excited to be here with you guys, and thank you again, Adam, for hosting this. We're going to learn a lot from you, of course, because you're going to be outlining the annual Global CEO Survey in just a moment. But I just want to take a moment to just acknowledge that this panel is very high profile. It's fantastic to have you all here. We're really excited to get your expertise, your thoughts, and just a moment of thanks for all the PAs, all the diary managers to get you guys into the same virtual space at the same time. Absolutely no mean feat. So well done to everybody for being here. Well done to our people watching us from around the world. If you'd like to get involved, please get involved with the hashtag. It's hashtag CEO Survey, or you can also comment hashtag Future of CEE. It will be lovely to get your comments. We want this to be dynamic. We want this to be engaging. So write to us, get your comments in. We'll try and get through all the questions that we can. We'll have a big panel discussion in just a moment. We'll have a chance for all the questions coming in from you guys watching this. But firstly, Adam, let's get to the crux of this. You're going to share with us the PwC 26th Annual Global CEO Survey. Adam, over to you.
Thank you, Kasia. So let's start. So maybe a few words about the survey itself. That's the 2036 edition. This time we surveyed over 4,400 CEOs in 105 countries. The survey was conducted in October and November 2022. So pretty much all the questions about the next 12 months, expectations, prospects, were questions about 2023 calendar year. From CE perspective, we had 607 responses, I think quite a nice sample. But then the global and regional results in this report are weighted proportionally to country or regional nominal GDP to ensure that the CEO views are representative across all the major regions. So overall, I think very good base to have a good discussion. So let's start with question number one. Let's start with macro question. The question was about, how do CEOs believe economic growth will change over the next year from perspective of global economy? And here we have quite full alignment among CEOs coming from CE and from other parts of the world. Unfortunately, quite gloomy perspective, pessimistic. 70+% CEOs expect that there will be a slowdown over the next 12 months, and that's those expectations represent a very sharp reversal from last year, because last year we had actually a record optimism year. And what's behind such a picture? We all know that last year's optimism was driven by the waning of the global pandemic, but then was completely dashed in 2022 by big shocks such as the war in Ukraine, and then surging energy and commodity prices and accelerated inflation. What's interesting, actually, when CEOs are asked a similar question, but not about the global economy, but about own country's perspective, the picture is still not maybe very positive, but it's a bit more optimistic. And that's why maybe a nice segue to the next question. The next one is about one back, Jeff. The next one was about how confident the CEOs are about, I think, the things that are better able to control, maybe not fully control, their own company's revenue growth prospects. And here we have 40+% CEOs, both here in the region and globally, saying that they're extremely confident about the revenue growth in the next 12 months. And for me, that's an interesting data point, because at the same time, we have quite gloomy answers about the global perspective, but quite positive in the circumstances answers about own companies' perspectives. I'm not sure I follow exactly what's behind, but I'm sure we can discuss this topic during the panel. Then when we move forward, we had a question about the growth opportunities. And here, I think what we can observe that, it's not a big surprise, actually, we all know about it, but overall, after the pandemic, because of geopolitical issues and risks, CEOs, leaders in general, are looking closer to home than before when thinking about growth opportunities. And from a CE perspective, definitely Germany is by far number one. That's the closest market, biggest market to us. And then what we can also observe is that there is quite a higher interest than in the past in some countries in Central Europe and on Southern Europe. And the final comment from a CEE perspective would be that UK used to be higher on the chart. Now France, Italy is ahead of, is higher. And the question is it a kind of a result of Brexit? That's another question potentially to be discussed. Global picture is of course quite different, but not surprisingly, US #1, China, Germany again. But still, analyzing the global data in more details, we see that the nearshoring is definitely the topic of the day, much more than in the past. Moving now to the question about the transformation. I think this is, for me personally, one of the best questions actually we had in the survey. The first time we had such a question actually. The question was about the need to transform. Awareness whether the businesses need transformation, and here I think overall the results are not so different between CEE and global. The first main conclusion is that CEOs are very aware that the companies they're running may not be economically viable in the near future. A decade from now, if they continue as is, without major changes, without transformation. And actually, the picture is even more clear when we're asked not only about the first 10 years, but what's the situation beyond the next 10 years. Then the answer is even more clear. There need to be a change because of a big mega trends, technology changes, economic changes, and now geopolitics risks. If we want to run successful companies, I'm sure we will come back to this question during the panel. Then another one was about key threats, and here we are again from a CEE perspective quite well aligned with the answers from global CEOs. At least aligned from a kind of high level perspective, because the top three are pretty much the same top three threats: inflation, macroeconomic volatility, and geopolitical conflict. But when you go one level below, you can see still quite noticeable differences between CEE, between the perception in CEE and global. Inflation, 55% in CEE, and that's the #1 by far threat. And globally, 40%. No surprise. We have in CEE quite a few countries with inflation close to 20%, or even countries actually with inflation over 20, closer to 25%. So this threat is more kind of visible, even more visible in CEE than in other parts of the world, although we have, of course, high inflation in other parts of the world as well. As a result of that, macroeconomic volatility is also scored a bit higher in CEE. And geopolitical conflict here, no surprise, top #3 on both charts, but from a CEE perspective, 43% versus 25% globally. And then cyber risk. I will come back to cyber risk because that's also a quite important topic, and used to be actually top 3, even #1 threat in the previous editions before the geopolitical situation changed significantly in 2022. Now, moving to actions. What are the key actions CEOs are considering now to address the risks, to address the threats? And here, again, we have quite, I think, nice alignment between CEE and global. Top 1 topic on many agendas in the region is a topic about rising prices of products and services. And I'm not surprised. With such a high inflation, there are many attempts to reflect, to increase the prices and to reflect the inflation in higher prices. Not easy, of course, because at the end of the day, we're all very price sensitive now in the current environment. Then, because we cannot do it actually to full extent, another topic which is actually in the top from the global perspective, on the top of the list, is reduction of operating costs. I mean, this is a kind of a question of finding a kind of a balance and fine balance between to what extent we can reduce the prices, or to what extent we can reduce the cost to maintain the margins. And I think that's probably the topic, the short-term topic in many boardrooms in CEE and globally. What's interesting on this page, actually, that the reduction of operating costs is clearly different. I mean, differentiated from the reducing workforce topic and reducing compensation. You can see at the bottom of the page that actually both globally and in CEE, the approach to workforce and to compensation, to remunerations is different. And there was no intention, at least in the last quarter of 2022, when the CEOs asked the question about significant bold movements against workforce, against employees. And I'm sure we'll come back to this topic during the panel. Moving forward, the war in Ukraine, and the question was actually to what extent, what are the actions to mitigate against exposure to geopolitical conflict over the next 12 months. And here I said I'll come back to the cybersecurity and data privacy. From a global perspective, more investment, increasing investment in cyber was top. I mean, the topic was top 3 topic in the previous edition. Now it's again number 1. From CEE perspective, we see a movement, we see a more awareness, but still not to such an extent like from a kind of global perspective. But still, year after year, the awareness about investment in cyber is increasing. And then we have actually the other top responses: adjusting supply chains, adjusting presence in different markets, in current markets, or expanding new markets, or diversification of products and services being the top answers, actually both globally and locally in CEE. And now looking after Ukraine at the long-term threats, here I think I will come back here talking about this page to labor, to workforce, because we can see clearly that from the CEE perspective, when CEOs are asked about the next 10 years perspective, number 1 threat or risk is labor, especially skilled labor shortages. Globally, the score is also very high. In CEE, is even higher. And that's actually a very interesting observation, because I think whatever we will do in the short term to tackle the current difficult macroeconomic situation, I think we have to be careful to what extent we do it to protect our long-term assets. And I think from a long-term perspective, definitely skilled labor is the key assets we have. Other scores, I mean, changing customer demand preferences, changes in regulation, where it used to be top 3, top 5 responses in the past, especially over-regulation. And what's interesting, actually, in the past, I remember quite well, over-regulation was scored higher in the region. Now it's scored even higher globally. So that's an interesting dynamic. I guess it's maybe a relativity, because the other risks in the region became actually bigger. And of course, the final comment is about technology disruption. I mean, I talked about this a moment ago, about the need, CEOs being aware about the need to transform. And here we have another proof that 50% of CEOs see it as a major long-term threat to their current business models. And as a result, they are fully aware about the need to transform. So that was I think that was the last slide we had. I think overall quite good quality data to compare what's going on in CEE versus what's going on in globally. Overall, I think many alignments, but of course we are closer to geopolitical. I mean, the war in Ukraine impacts the views, and some aspects are a bit noticed in a much stronger way. So that's a short, I think, presentation of key results. And thank you very much. Kasia, over to you.
Adam, fascinating, absolutely fascinating, short, but a lot of detail there. And throughout our discussion coming up over the next moments, we'll get into the real nuts and bolts of this. But I think just a summary of that, it feels like because of the proximity, the geopolitical proximity of the CEE to what is happening in Ukraine, there's an acute awareness of what is needed. And I think you really honed in on this need for change, need for transformation is something that you were talking about a lot, that people are aware of, the CEOs are aware of. And I think that gives the CEE region a bit of positivity in the sense that they understand what's needed and transformation is needed. So a complicated picture, but I think there's positivity out there. So it's great, fantastic. Let's get cracking then, because Adam was pointing out that this CEOs recognize the need for change, and ultimately technology, digital transformation is going to be driving a lot of this. And Michelle, we know that we've got high inflation. We know that CEOs of Central and Eastern European countries, they are planning to put investment into technology. They're planning to invest in this digital transformation to respond to future challenges. They understand that. So from your perspective, from Microsoft's perspective, just talk us through what is needed. What are these technological investments that are needed specifically with this region in mind?
Thanks, Kasia. Absolutely. I also found it interesting that nearly 50% of the CEOs commented that there was a need to transform. So the understanding is there. Now it's how to do that. And Microsoft also looked at what we call our Digital Futures Index, where we looked at 11 CEE countries and 5 Western European countries to try to understand what is this correlation between digital progress and the progress in countries. And what we found was very similar to what we're hearing from the CEOs in this PwC survey. And that is that while we may be lagging in some of the Central and Eastern European countries to the Western European countries, there is a huge opportunity, and there's optimism related to that opportunity. Because where we invest in digital transformation technology, we see that countries, societies, companies are better off, more productive, more competitive. And so looking at that, there's a number of different areas that companies can start. One of the ones that was also mentioned was around skilling. There was a comment, one of the slides showed the gap or the need for labor and skilled labor. And no matter the industry you're in, this is the same for technology as well. We frankly have a shortage of having the right skills to drive this transformation. Microsoft made a pledge that we would skill about 150,000 people in Poland. This pledge was made a couple years ago, and we're already at 400,000. So that shows the optimism where there is a desire to gain those skills and bring those skills. But yet we still have this gap in what the CEOs are saying. And Poland is the 5th largest tech skilled market in the world. We have other areas of optimism, with Romania being one of the top exporters of IT services. So there's great opportunity. It's how do we tap into that in order to bring this transformation that was mentioned. The other thing that I would call out in particular is where the World Economic Forum stated that 70% of the new economic value in the next 10 years will be from digital business models. And I mentioned at the beginning that I was just in Warsaw earlier this week. And I think there's a great example with Jabka Nano stores, where they are leveraging technology in order to build new business models, where they're leveraging and using smart store analytics in order to rethink the shopper experience, improve operations, be more efficient, both for their own operations, but also for the consumers that shop there. So it's a completely autonomous, seamless experience for shoppers, but also gives them all the analytics that they need in order to create better efficiencies. And so we are seeing really good examples of companies tapping into innovation to drive transformation, to create these new digital business models that was mentioned. So those are a couple areas that I would call out around skilling, having the right skills, investing in people. We know that skills are changing rapidly, and so we need to continue to stay on top of that. And we've put a number of programs into the markets in order to enable that. And then also just leveraging the current trends today. So how do we tap into artificial intelligence? How do we build more resilient systems? How do we create better efficiencies? Supply chain was also mentioned as an area of focus, and that's also a way in order to create this transformation that you're discussing.
Michelle, thank you so much. So let's put one of the points that you were making to Krzysztof, because Michelle, they're talking about Żabka, hugely popular across Poland. What do you make of Michelle's comments?
Indeed, just to address what Michelle said, it's not a lack of vision, but the availability of talent that is a barrier for digital transformation. And rest assured, it's not only in our region; it's a global challenge. Żabka is actually a great example of how to deal with that issue in a creative manner. Żabka is a very active innovator pursuing the transformation of the convenience retail, and we also do it via Żabka's Venture Studio. It's a unit that searches for the startups based on both the current business needs, but also on the basis of trends and consumer insights. We invited 140 startups from 20 countries to take part in the Food Tech Lab acceleration program, under which Żabka is looking for solutions that approach the issues of nutrition and its impact on our planet in an innovative way. So we're also trying to tap on this the digital talent in a creative manner.
So digital talent in a creative manner, and there's so much talent within this region, as we know. People are tech savvy. Adam, any final thoughts on this particular aspect of from your findings? And again, thank you for such a comprehensive outline of the PwC CEO survey.
No, I can only confirm what Krzysztof said, because I'm based in Poland. I can observe it. I'm a client of Żabka, so I can see the difference actually. And I don't know how you do it, but data analytics concept was mentioned. I'm kind of shocked. This is about the future of shopping. I mean, but we also find in Żabka what we look for in a specific region. So it's maybe different between different regions, different places, but data analytics works. So it's a great example of digital transformation.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you. And Michelle, thank you. That idea that optimism in opportunity is there. And I think that's something that I picked up on at the very beginning after Adam gave that comprehensive survey, the results of the key points of the survey. This feels like there's opportunity, and there feels like there's an understanding that change is needed among CEOs, but they get it. So they're optimistic, which is fantastic. Tomasz, let's bring you in, because one of the points that Adam mentioned in the CEO survey was that more business leaders in CEE region than globally believe that the transition to new energy sources will actually impact on their business. Give us some of your perspectives on this, the challenges, because there are a lot. It's expensive. Let's start with that. But there are opportunities as well. What's your thinking on this, Tomasz?
Thank you for that question, Kasia. I would start maybe for controversial statement like that. The time is the best teacher, but unfortunately it's killing all of its students. So this is this is a very valid statement regarding the energy transition, because what we know already, we have some imperative. Yeah, why do we want to do this transformation? And this is like climate change crisis. We understand what's going on. That's why we set like long-term goals about no emission till 2050 with some milestones every few years. So like the vision, the long-term goals are set, but meanwhile we have so many questions that even Microsoft ChatGPT probably will not be able to answer them. So, and the questions are, I would start maybe from this climate fix, yeah, because like everyone, we all like it's no discussion that like business generating some emissions and impact on the environment. It's no doubt about that. Everyone agree, but what's the level of that impact? Yeah, this is the question mark. How this all transition will work if Europe do it, but rest of the world will not follow. Yeah. So this is another big question: how to organize the market after that. And except the questions about the climates, we have many questions regarding the technology itself, because we have to understand that many changes we're doing right now is not giving extra business added value. So we are switching like part of the solutions, part of the technologies for a new one, but the new one are less efficient. They are more efficient in case of emissions, of course, but not many of them are less efficient in case of like energy generation, cost of energy, etc., etc. So we are not talking about like business driven environment. We are talking about like regulatory driven environment, and this is like very important to understand the nature of that change. It's like with biofuels in the fuel. It's not that the drivers expect biofuels. It's not that the producers expect and believe that this is the best way because it's increasing the cost of the production. It's about the regulatory thing. So we have to understand the nature of that transition and stress like the importance of the governance role to lead this process in a proper way, to give like the business the stability, predictability, and create the environment when we will be able to take the risk and the technology risk. Yeah, because if we look into the past, for example, in 15 years ago, many believed that plasma TV will be the best solution, and I remember many discussions which kind of TV is better, and right now we don't have plasma TVs anymore. Yeah, so now when we are talking about this energy transition, yeah, we have like many different technologies like competing little bit each other. I would mention just like chargers for electricity cars versus hydrogen cars and synthetic fuel cars. Yeah, all of them could be the way, but investing in all of that probably too costly. Yeah, other technology competition that is growing is in the production of the electricity. Yeah, we have these renewable sources, like everyone investing in solars right now or other renewable electricity generation sources. But we have to understand that this is not extremely advanced technology for now, and not super efficient, and very limited regarding connection to the grid and balancing of the grid. So it's also not a way to just go into that. We have to think how to organize the process in a best way. And I believe that the best way for that process is to first think about energy security, so safe, reliable, and affordable energy sources. Second, to focus not only on the production side, but also about like existing operations, not only about new technologies, but first look into what we've got. So how to reduce the emissions in existing technologies, and how to look on the final customers, because I see huge reserves to reduce emission, electricity consumptions in the existing buildings, final customers, operations, etc., etc. So it's not just the role for the energy sector. And last but not least, we should think about these new technologies, how to implement them, but focus not just on the technologies to implement something new, but to implement something that really can give the added value. Not to replace, but to replace with the improvement. And really last thing, I want to mention these opportunities you said at the beginning. And I believe, of course, there are many opportunities. Let me stress just two of them. First, we can really build independence, because right now the Europe is, and Central Europe is, depend from the resources we don't have here. So definitely this transition can help us to build independence, to be less depends on the deliveries from other continents and countries. But we have to think also not to be dependent on the technologies. So not to move from one dependency to another dependency. This is a very, very important thing. And second thing for CEE region, I think this transition, new technologies, if we do it right, we can move a little bit to be the producer of final products, because this is what we're missing in Central Europe. We are in this value chain producing many important things, but most of the final products for final customers are produced in other part of the Europe than Central Europe. So this could be our way to move to be the final product producer. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Fascinating insight. There's lots to go through. The idea that governance should be leading the process in transitioning. But I wonder, how much of a responsibility, Tomasz, is it for governments and that sector, or how much is it for companies like yourselves? And just briefly, in a sentence, if you would, who's the burden of responsibility on to make this transition?
Transition was started by European Union, so European Union is the leader.
Okay, but you guys benefit from it. You talked about Tomasz, thank you, Michelle. A lot to talk about there, but this idea that businesses in general are transforming. Tomasz said we don't want to start being too dependent on technologies. I wonder if you can just help our viewers as well, just to understand how technology can help in the process without us becoming incredibly dependent on it.
Yeah, one of the things that I took away from Tomasz's comments was knowing what technology also to invest in. And that's where data can really help. So when you look at how do you become more energy efficient, you first need to know where you're starting from. And so using data to find that and then measure and optimize efforts is absolutely, I think, an important area for companies to be investing in. Companies like PKP Energetica invested in machine learning, IoT, business analytics tools, and have reduced their annual railway CO2 emissions by 800,000 tons. So it's possible, but you have to know where you're starting from and where you're going. And the other aspect is just leveraging the cloud. This is a really great opportunity for companies to build sustainability into their efforts, because we know that the Microsoft cloud can be up to 93% more energy efficient than one's own traditional data center. And so there's opportunities to leverage technology and leverage hyperscale cloud solutions in order to reduce your own footprint, in order to create energy savings for your own businesses as well. So I think those are two areas to start with. Data and cloud can really help companies along this journey.
Michelle, thank you very much. A fascinating insight, actually. I didn't realize it was such a high percent. So just an aspect there. I do want everybody to get involved with these discussions. Get your questions in as well. The hashtag CEO survey, hashtag future of CEE. It would be really, really great to hear from you as well, because we've got these esteemed panelists. Let's grill them, shall we? Right, on to the next area, because we've talked about digital transformation. We've talked about the energy transition. Let's talk about the investor perspective, shall we? And this one, let's bring in Tomasz. Krzysztof, when you're looking at, the surging inflation that we're seeing, we're hearing about the economic slowdown, of course, the geopolitical concerns with Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Just talk us through, how do investors, when you're talking to investors, how do they assess the risk perspective? Adam touched upon risk in the PwC survey, but when you're hearing from the ground investors' concerns, what are they?
Well, first, really glad to hear so many examples of CVC investments on this panel. PKP Energetica is indeed a fascinating transformation story over the last seven years, and it's actually a good segue to the investor perspective. Well, first of all, over the last 3 decades, Polish economy and the regional economy was fueled by cost-effective, skilled labor force, which is no longer that inexpensive, and most importantly, more and more scarce. The whole globe is in a deep demographic decline. So the question is the automation, is the digital transformation an answer? Despite the excellent results of economic growth in the region, and let's take an example of Poland. Poland still lags behind most European economies in terms of productivity, which is driven by automation, which is driven by digital. Anecdotally, Poland is at the 37% of productivity level of Germany in manufacturing and 44% in services. So there's a big gap to catch up. And in order to continue the long-term economic growth, we need to catch up in investments, which has been, even pre-pandemic in 2019, at the lowest level since the 90s. We view as investors, the reasons for that is uncertainty. Of course, geopolitical uncertainty, but also increasing overregulation. So, across sectors, we see entrepreneurs not, being lukewarm on, investing in technology, in automation, because they're concerned of rules of the game being changed. So, from the investor perspective, we view more stability, more predictability of regulations being key to unlock this, potential for investments. Again, as investors, we see it as an opportunity. We love buying good companies and helping them being great. And the two examples mentioned today, Żabka and PKPE, are great examples of transformation from very solid but quite regular businesses to leaders not only in the region but globally. From a wider perspective, not just financial investors, but global companies which make allocation decisions. Should I invest in this region or that region? We see region as CEE as a very attractive spot, evidenced by significant FDI, especially in the area of new economy. Microsoft has made a tremendous commitment, capital commitment to build data centers. The cloud as a sector is growing, and that actually creates a whole ecosystem that helps other investors to piggyback from that. We see no longer region in Poland in particular being hub for just basic production, but a lot of investors are moving their shared services centers, their business processes to the region, and these are more and more sophisticated processes. So we see a lot of inflow of R&D investments by global companies. Some of them being on this panel.
Krzysztof, thank you. Just in terms of given the current environment that we're in and the complications that adds to the region, just how do companies there then attract investors? What do they do in order? Because there's so much scope, there's so much potential in terms of very educated, digitally savvy workforce. What else can the companies there do to attract that investment opportunity?
I think the work needs to be done in terms of the long-term strategies. We're so focused on short-termism, inflation, war in Ukraine, which are really grim these days. But the companies should really look long-term. Try to use the crisis as an opportunity to break through to the next level. So look into their cost base, how they can be more efficient, more productive. Look about the new consumer needs. The consumer has tremendously changed over the last 3 years. And that's a great opportunity to understand the consumer needs better, provide better services, better products, and start thinking globally. These kind of management teams, these types of entrepreneurs are the ones that don't have to be bothered whether they're a good investment target. Investors will knock on their doors.
So investors will knock on their doors. Tomasz, is that the point that Krzysztof was making? Is this not being short-termism? It's being that long-term, having that long-term perspective, and the incredible changes that we've seen already within the past 10, 20 years. How do you plan for something like that in order to stay ahead of the game when things are changing so quickly?
I guess we have to use to the change. It will be quicker and quicker in the future. So that's the new reality. The times when people started job in one place and work till the last day of their life are already done. Yeah. So right now we have to expect to be flexible and move as much as possible. But still, this predictability is a key. Yeah? I mentioned about that. I fully agree what Krzysztof mentioned, that some kind of long vision and predictability about the way to have the stable conditions. This is the key. Our region is growing. This is like the very growing region. If you compare like the data with the other regions, this is one of the best investments opportunity region worldwide, with still relatively limited and manageable risks. So that's definitely interesting. But stability and predictability is always the key for investors.
Thank you very much. And just everybody watching, get in touch via the hashtags, but also you can pose your questions via the chat option as well. So do keep them coming. We've had a lot of great comments so far, and we'll get to them at the end of our panel discussion. So please do keep them coming. It has been, yes, you're absolutely right. It has been a really fascinating conversation so far. Thank you so much for that, Tomasz. I just want to, you touched upon the data, and we started today with that incredible amount of data from Adam. Just Adam, one of the really striking points that you made throughout during your presentation was just how acutely aware CEOs within Central and Eastern Europe are aware of the need to transform their business. You'll give the stats, but that far more aware than, say, potentially those CEOs globally that they need to transform. And that, I think, possibly, is it right to say that will give them optimism, and because they're in control of the situation, because they're aware of the need to change?
Yes, I think it gives an optimism for the whole region. As panelists already discussed, we have some short-term issues to deal with. Of course, we have inflation, we have a geopolitical crisis, etc. Okay, but hopefully, we are talking about transitory issues, and sooner or later we'll be able to deal with them. But what's fascinating is that at the same time, why CEOs are dealing with the short-term issues, because we have to do it, they are fully aware that it's about the long-term game. And one thing is digital transformation, because that's the global trend. And from this perspective, I think, as already as already my predecessor mentioned, we have a great, part of the optimism connected with the region is that we have a great pool of skilled talent. And over the last, let's say, 20 years, when you look at the region, Poland, Romania, Slovakia, you have plenty of delivery centers set up. And at the beginning, it was quite a simple business, but now I think we are ready, and the trend already started to move the bar up. So it's more about now center of excellence, R&Ds, so more complicated jobs, because we can deliver. We can deliver from a perspective of skilled labor. And the final thing, when I think about the fact that we should be quite optimistic, is the awareness also coming from the CEOs about the need to take care about people. Because from my perspective, it's very close to my heart because we have a people firm, knowledge firm. But I think it's the same across the board. We have pandemic, we have a hybrid working model. As a result of that, we have more kind of global market for talent, no doubt. And I can use many examples from my firm of people working remotely with directly employed by US or other companies across the board, and they can do it. We have new expectations from new generations of people. We had some challenges, as Krzysztof mentioned, about demographic issues decline. But still, I think that's the key topic for us. We have to take care about people to be able to engage them, empower them, to be able to perform, to deliver on digital transformation in the future. And we are very best positioned as a region actually to do it. And the final comment, I think from my perspective, is that I see more and more companies, local companies, going abroad. And I think that's the moment when we have, after 30 years after the transformation, that's a perfect moment now to expand. And there was a question about it as well, because we are prepared to do it.
Adam, thank you very much. And it's fascinating when you're talking about the new expectations, different expectations of the workforce. Of course, we know that things have changed. I'm broadcasting to you not from a studio, but from my home. Michelle, in terms of meeting, as an employer, meeting these expectations, retaining people, making sure that you get the caliber of people, what's Microsoft doing in that area?
I would say it really starts first with culture. Satya Nadella, our CEO, spent a lot of time, a lot of energy in rethinking our culture at Microsoft, which then helps to attract talent because people are very keen to understand and be a part of something that's bigger. We were talking about skilling and different what the workforce expects as well. And Microsoft's gone from being what we would call a know-it-all company to really focused on growth mindset. And so learning along the way, constant learning, it's something that's available to everyone at Microsoft, is to be able to tap into both, I'd say, broad kind of common skills to very technical skills, and to continue to learn and grow. And then I would also say that a big part of it is also knowing how to navigate as a leader, a very diverse workforce, and one that is spread out, one that maybe isn't all in the work, in the office. I lead a team that is spread out amongst more than 25 countries, and the leadership team is not based where I'm based, and so we've had to learn how to engage in different ways, leveraging technology in order to share information, share ideas, make different types of connections, and it brings a whole new creativity to the workplace. So culture and learning, and also just being really flexible and agile in how we lead very diverse teams across the region.
Michelle, thank you very much. There's so much change, and it's happening so quickly that for the CEO communities within this region, it's a lot to grasp and a lot to tackle. But I just wonder, in terms of innovation, Tomasz, we've had a comment specifically from one of our viewers who's been talking about the agenda, the innovation. How important is it for you? We've heard, the changes in the workforce, the different demands. Michelle referenced the culture within the workplace. But for you, how do you support the innovation agenda in Central and Eastern Europe?
Thank you for that question. This is all of that is very connected each other. Yeah. So definitely innovation is a part of the transition. We had in the group few innovation centers already created in full swing of operation. And at the end we are focused on developing own technologies and improving existing ones. So totally I would guess we have few hundred people working just to improve our position in the future market. And definitely innovations, digitization of it is fully related to the people, as Michelle mentioned. And so without proper culture that will let us to implement the innovation, without people who will be supporting the innovation rather than afraid that they will be no useless on labor market anymore, ex-employees. Yeah, the transition implementation of the innovation will not happen. Yeah, so very important to work with the people, communicate well, present long-term vision, and being with the team on the one page.
Being with the team on the one page, and again that reference to long term, looking further forward rather that kind of short term perspective. In the final moments, and thank you so much everybody for all your comments, all the viewers. It's been a fascinating insight from this esteemed panel. I'm going to get some final thoughts, and Adam, I will end with you. So get your final thoughts regarding this annual global survey for us. But Krzysztof, let's just start with you. One takeaway that the viewers that they're watching and they're thinking about, okay, so we've got these challenges and there are a lot of them, but when it comes to investment opportunities, what's your note that you want everybody to walk away with?
CDC used to be an investor in Formula One, and one of the best ever drivers, Ayrton Senna, he used to say, you cannot overtake 15 cars in a sunny weather, but you can when it's raining. And that's I think that's the key theme for CEOs and entrepreneurs in our region.
That's fantastic. It's raining here, right? It's always raining in London, but that's a really, really great point. Michelle, let's get your reflections as we bring this discussion to a close. Something that you really want people to take away with and give us this real opportunity and optimism that I think is underpinning the global survey that we've been discussing today.
Yes, I believe in that optimism as well. I mean, CEE region is full of tenacity, technology, talent, skilled labor. We talked about all those things, so there's a lot of reason to be optimistic. And I believe that where we have the courage to innovate versus just iterate, we can really make the Central and Eastern European region the digital heartbeat of Europe.
The digital heartbeat of Europe. These are all such lovely phrases, aren't they? Thank you so much, Michelle. It's uplifting to hear that. Tomasz, we started the day when you were telling us your hockey team didn't win. I want positivity. I want to hear about the energy and the drive. So they will win next season. There's always another season. Just in terms of what we're hearing today, it's been fascinating to hear about the skill set and the optimism that Michelle referenced. What's your keynote from today?
I will also try to share the optimism. Yeah, maybe one story from Steve Jobs' Apple. Yeah, he had the vision that he wanted to have the agreement with the customers on one page, and the team, the lawyers, everyone said it's not possible. We have to put that. We have to have this in the agreements. And he said this one page is a goal. Yeah, so think about that. And they said okay, so let's switch the approach. So, and they They came back to him telling, okay, it can be one page, but under that condition, that condition, that condition. And that's what I believe. Yeah, we have in this region huge opportunities, of course, some challenges, but if we have long-term vision, if we be constant on that, under some condition, we will succeed.
That's great. Thank you so much for that. And Adam, we started, firstly, thank you, PwC, for hosting today. Thank you for sharing the results from the CEO survey. I think we're hearing that kind of optimism. Yeah, like I say, there are challenges, but when it comes to going forward and looking into that long term, what's one last piece of advice for the businesses, for the CEOs watching today?
I think, Kasia, from my perspective, it's all about people. Focus on development of people. We already have a great base. That's why I'm optimistic. We have a great base of skilled people in the region. We have to develop them, maintain them, retain them. And what I like, and it's what's very close to me, what Michelle said, if we want to do it, it's also about culture and values. So I will probably end with culture and values as a big, important focus point for us to develop the region going forward.
Culture and values. What a lovely way to finish this discussion. PwC, thank you so much for hosting us today, for sharing the 26th Annual Global CEO Survey. Lots more on your websites, I'm sure, that if people want to take a read. But for the time being, I'd just like to thank my esteemed panel. Michelle Simmons from Microsoft, thank you. Tomasz Wiatrak from Orlen Unipetrol, thank you. Krzysztof Krawczyk from CVC Capital Partners, thank you. And Adam Krasian, thank you so much, CEO of PwC Central and Eastern Europe, for sharing this platform with us, for sharing your information today. And to everybody watching, thanks for taking the time. I can confirm it is still raining in London, but I'm feeling optimistic, and it's great to be here with you today. Bye-bye, everyone.